this thing. You need to clean all this.
All right, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are your 24-25 NBA champions at last after all the heartbreak. We are there. Jay, how are you feeling? Because you were at the game, so you don't have a voice right now.
I don't have much of a voice. I lost it last night screaming, hooting, and hollering just to see my squad. Both my squads have now got championships. For those that know, I've worked Oklahoma City Blue and Thunder games for years. Got my hat for when the Blue won their championship last year. Now the Thunder got theirs. So, yeah, I ain't got a voice. I'm pretty excited, though, PG.
Yes. Now, okay, what was your instant reaction? The Thunder win it. How did you feel right after? Because I was really excited. I couldn't contain myself. I might have shed a couple tears. The investment was definitely there. How did you feel right after the buzzer hit zero?
I was legitimately in shock. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting there, me and my son, we're in the arena looking. I'm just like, they're for real about to do this. Like, this is actually about to happen. The years of watching this, the heartbreak of 2013 when Russell Westbrook's ACL gets torn, first round of the playoffs, and everything just started to come together. Kevin Durant leaving and going to Golden State. Paul George and Russell Westbrook teaming up, and then Dame Lillard hits the game-winning shot to knock them out the playoffs, and Utah knocks Oklahoma City out the playoffs the year before. It was so many things accumulated, and then the team blew up, and they sent out Paul George for Shea, and then you get 2 years of quote-unquote strategic tanking, and it's like I don't know what's going on, and it's like, it actually came down. They actually won and closed it out.
Yeah, and you kind of talked a little bit about the heartbreak, and those are kind of some of the things that I was talking to people about this morning. As I regretfully went into work on a Monday morning after we won the finals. That was a bad decision. Shouldn't have done that. But I was reminiscing, like, we had this young team in 2012, and I think we were even favored in those finals. You lose to the Miami Heat, and you were kind of alluding to it earlier, but it's like we all thought Oklahoma City was going to be back there really quickly, if not like literally the following season. And I said, I didn't get to go last night. I didn't get to go to any of the finals games this year. I'm kind of banking that the Thunder are going to go back, and you're like, it's not a guarantee Oklahoma City's going to get back. But you look at it, and then you look at 2016, and again, you were kind of right there. You were on the cusp of it. You had the Warriors on the ropes, and you blow a 3-1 lead. Kevin Durant leaves. It feels like the organization's kind of taken a huge step back, and then Paul George comes into the mix, and you feel like, okay, maybe we got another shot at this. And it just felt like it was never really going to work. And then Sam Presti put this team together and told everybody, like, trust the process, but not like Philadelphia's process.
Right. No, Philly's process was completely different. Their goal was just to get a whole bunch of top picks and really just see what happens. Whereas Oklahoma City was strategic about accumulating assets. Like, that's the thing that I think a lot of people didn't see when it came to Presti, is that he kept getting just a whole bunch of picks. He would take on back contracts and make sure that they sent a first round pick in that player's back pocket. And he just accumulated pick over pick over pick. And then eventually he started to, punt them and use them in strategic spots. And the next thing you know, you get J-Dub, you get Chet in the same draft, which actually that was about all you really needed. I mean, you'd already had Dort on the roster. You had Alex Caruso, but which I think is even cooler to see that picture of Mark Daigneault and Caruso together with the Oklahoma City Blue. I used to love watching Caruso play. And then from there, it led to them being able to build not only a whole bunch of assets in the future, but get the players they need for today. And the biggest thing, the other big difference between Philadelphia's tank and the process versus Oklahoma City is that the 76ers were just churning and burning through it, whereas the Thunder had strategic picks. Their picks were strategic about who they were going for and who they were going after, and they made it happen. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, now, kind of looking at this, the Thunder have won the NBA Finals. They're going into the offseason. Now, obviously, last offseason, I think we had a lot of ideas of what the Thunder could do to get better. Obviously, during the season, there was a lot of storylines of what Oklahoma City could potentially do going into this offseason if they didn't win it. Oklahoma City's won it. What does Oklahoma City need to do this offseason to ensure that they can have a chance to get back next year? Or do they need to do anything?
To be honest, there's not much they need to do. A lot of development just needs to happen with a lot of the players they have on the roster. You know that Chet and Jalen's contracts are going to come up in the next year, that they need to get their extension going. You got a lot of young players from Dylan Jones to Isaiah Joe to Casey Wallace, which you start to sign some of these guys, Aaron Wiggins, already under contracts to where you don't have to be too concerned about that. But for Oklahoma City, it's right now the big thing is you got to keep this roster together as much as possible. The more this roster is together, the better.
No, totally agree with that. Now, kind of looking, though, at the roster, the way it's currently constructed, you've got Topic coming in this year, which I think he's going to make a huge impact. I was listening to Colin Cowherd last night on my way home, and he brought up a good point. I don't feel like we're going to see Oklahoma City play the same way we saw them play this year. You're probably going to see SGA and J-Dub and Chet probably be a little bit more laxed in the regular season. And really, you let Mark see these young guys take the reins and let the organization really figure out, who do you have outside of these three? Who do we really want to keep? Because you are going to have tough decisions having to come up, right? Are you going to be able to keep Kaysen and Dort? Or do you have to make a decision between one of the two? Do you have to look at a guy like Topic and say, okay, he's really good, we're going to keep him, but we got to cut one of these other two guys? What's your kind of thought process on how the Thunder are going to approach next season? Because they're no longer the young team that's chasing the first chip. Like, they're an experienced team now that has that experience. They have a finals under their belt.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, they're still the young team chasing chips. That's the good thing, is that they're still one of the youngest teams in the NBA. Back-to-back years, they were the youngest team to win a championship. Or have the number one seed. They were the youngest team, so they're fine when it comes to that. Looking at it though, you got AJ Mitchell, who has a team option, which I know the Thunder's probably going to take. Remember, Daniel Theis was on the squad earlier this year. They brought him in and bought him out. So that was where your opening kind of came in. And then you brought in a couple young guys, Alex Dukas, Adam Flangler, guys that are going to fall off of the actual Brandon Carson. All those guys are going to drop off next season salary wise. So you don't have, you're going to have nothing but open space. And Nikola Topic, you got to wait till, see how he does after the knee injury. And for them, they don't have to really do anything. There's not much they can bring in they can take AJ Mitchell as well as Jalen Williams and do their team options and keep them for another year, and then they can bring in whatever rookie they decide to draft. If there's a particular player they want to get, and then they can just sit. They don't have to do a lot this year, and honestly, they don't have to do a lot in 26-27. They can opt into Isaiah Hartenstein as well as Lou Dort's contracts, keep them. 26-27 is when they're going to have to work. They get the qualifying offer for Chet as well as Dub and Ousmane Dieng. So they're probably going to go ahead and do those. They'll opt into Topic for that next year also. So for the most part, for the next 2 years, there's not a lot they have to do. But if you say there's something that they need to do, and most likely what in Presti's mind he has to do, he's got to evaluate what the team looks like in 3 years. And that's where you're going to see the strategy in his brain go. He plays at 4D chess. He's going to be looking at the roster for 27, 28. And he's going to figure out, okay, who are these young players that are here that we are blocking their ceiling because they're not going to be able to play as much, and how do we shift them around? And then what role players can we pick up that's going to be at a good price, and what additional assets can we grab just in case we need them? Because truth be told, those draft picks from 25 to 30, they've got 11 first round draft picks between 2025 and 2030. Yeah, and what they can do with
total draft picks.
Yeah. And then you got, and then with the second rounders, they got these up to 26. So they can start packaging some of those and kicking. I expect Presti to kick some of those down the line. He doesn't need all of them right now. And he's going to use the ones that he needs, but he's going to kick some of the ones down the line because he don't need them yet. And that's probably the best thing that Oklahoma City's got going for themselves.
So the roster construction, and I feel like I'm going to have to make several videos on this because I think this is such an interesting topic, because we're seeing this shift in the NBA to where teams are having to get out of the aprons. They don't want to be in the tax. And Oklahoma City's in this unique situation where even going in the next season, they're not going to be in the tax, right?
Not at all.
Salary cap's going up. And so it's going to be a long time before we see Oklahoma actually hit the second apron. So there's a good chance you could see this team together probably all the way up into, or at least the core foundation of it, up into when the new season starts in the new arena. Like, there's that kind of possibility. So I really think the roster construction piece of this is very interesting, because Oklahoma City's going to have to make minor tweaks. They're obviously not going to be able to just coast through this thing and never make any adjustments. They're going to have to make minor tweaks here and there. But one question that, kind of has been coming up quite a bit going into the offseason is Russell Westbrook, right? He opted out of his contract in Denver, and he is now an unrestricted free agent. And of course, the fan base loves Russell Westbrook even to this day, doing a lot of work in Oklahoma City. What would be your thoughts for Oklahoma City to bring him back maybe towards the latter half of his career? Now that you've got this young team together, they've got experience, they can go out there and win it, and kind of let him come back in more of like a veteran leadership role off the bench and potentially maybe one day get a ring with Oklahoma City.
One problem you run into that is that Westbrook's not going to not be Westbrook. He's not the type to want to just sit there and just ride and just not be a contributor. He wants to contribute in some capacity. And so the culture, of course, is strong in Oklahoma City. Everyone talks about that. The question is going to be, PG, would you want Russell Westbrook to be there and never play, or do you want him to be there and actually play? That's the question I have for you.
I think I would really like him to come back and play meaningful minutes off the bench in a backup role, because I do think there are times where SGA goes off the court and maybe the ball isn't moving the way you want it to. And I think having a guy like Russell Westbrook out there who can not only be a guy that can score for you off the bench in case you wanted to run more SGA and J-Dub minutes together, and then run Westbrook with the bench and Chet with the bench kind of in those secondary minutes and letting him kind of distribute the ball. That's kind of, if he came back, that's how I would like to see it. I know that's probably not going to be reality because Russell Westbrook's going to want to play a lot, but I think that would be the most ideal place for this team. And I think just Oklahoma City fans have to understand, it probably is, Westbrook's probably not coming back at all, or unless it's his last year in the league. I don't think they want to bring back some of these older guys and relive those other days until they're ready to retire. They're in their final season.
And that's the question. So, like, what is meaningful minutes with them? Like, I mean, you mentioned when Shea goes to the bench, and in some games, the bench actually played better when Shea wasn't in there. You saw more movement. You saw J-Dub actually took over. The games that J-Dub took over and he got his big scoring games, was a lot of it was when Shea wasn't playing. So now you have to ask the question, what is there to do? Now they do have to balance their 2 first picks when it comes up, and then, make sure that they've got space to, if they decide to take the picks, that is. Now, rumor has it Presti is trying to trade up. So if he trades up, then that's something.
Well, I mean,
that means he is a pick a player he wants. Look at
this draft, the top 15 players in this league, a lot of the big time insiders across the NBA believe that this is one of the deeper NBA drafts we've had in a while, and some of the top 15 players could probably end up being all-stars in their career. So it makes sense that maybe try to trade up and maybe get even inside the top 10, because you could find yourself another J-Dub in this draft potentially, in terms of where J-Dub was drafted.
Yeah, there could be another one, and you may want to go after it, or you may have a player you want to trade for. You may want to trade up so you can trade out of the draft and get a player from somewhere else that you would actually have on your roster. I still wish Oklahoma City would have reached up and got Cody Williams to go along with J-Dub. That would have been an awesome combo, because I think Cody is actually a pretty solid player. But I don't know. There's so many different things they can do. It's gonna take a while before they really they'll be forced to do anything, to be honest.
It's true. It's true. Like I said, they're not going to hit second apron probably for at least 4 to 5 years. So
No, they'll be at second apron in 2
you think
because in
you
two
think they'll be
years
there
is
too?
when in 2 years Chet and J Dub's contracts extensions will have to kick in which Dub is only making 6 million. Right, qualifying offer is 9 million in 2026, and that's usually when the extension starts. Same thing for Chet, which is 17. That 26, the 27 season is when they're going to hit the apron because Shea's a free agent that season as well.
Yes, I think I look at it and go, we know the salary cap's going to increase. It's already increasing this year. And I mean, we don't know what kind of deals these guys are going to sign. If you just assume they're going to sign the max, I think, yeah, you have the potential. But I think with the salary cap increasing, Oklahoma City maybe has the chance to not hit that second apron right away. I think that
It
I
all
think they could stay out of it.
depends on it all depends on what contract Shea and Dub takes and Chet because they can get close to that apron with just those three. Shea will be able to
I mean, the
make
real question is, does SGA want to take the full 80? What is it? 80 million?
it'll be like it's like 300 and something million.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if SGA wants to take the full or keep the team together, right? You know, what's more important to you. So, and living in
Yeah,
Oklahoma, I'll tell you, 50 million will go a pretty long way. 50 million a year.
it's a 5 year 380 million is the contract that he would be able to get is what he's eligible for. So that's an average about 76 million a year. Of course, that's going to be accelerated over time. So yeah, he's eligible for 380 because on the Supermax because he's got the MVP, All NBA, and all of that stuff. He's eligible for the Supermax number. That's where, yeah, first he'll be the first $80 million salary.
Man, crazy. All right, well, let's get in some questions here, and this is one that I kind of posed to you in the green room, but I think I want to talk about this a little bit more in detail. So we saw Tyrese Halliburton get hurt last night and calf strain. In reality, the Indiana Pacers probably should have shut him down. I get it. It's the finals, but you run the risk of not only losing the finals this year, but not being able to get back next year. And it's a terrible thing, but you saw a rise this year in Achilles and ACL injuries in the NBA. And this question was posed this morning on Colin Cowherd's show. They talked about shortening the seasons. And of course, I don't really remember the days of 5-game series, but a lot of people really like those 5-game series. And I think Colin Cowherd brought up a good point talking about how if you're a great team like the Thunder, you should be able to close out your series in 5 games. If you can't close out in those early rounds in 5 games, then you don't deserve to move on. And so kind of want to get your thoughts. Should the NBA look at either shortening the playoffs or shortening the season? I don't want to lose the in-season tournament. I really like that. I think it's brought a lot of intrigue to that early part of the season. And then I really like the play-in tournament. I think that was probably one of the more innovative ideas the NBA has had in a long time. But I do think there are areas where they could cut back on some things and maybe help with a little bit of player safety.
So I'd say, well, one, the big problem in player safety is that these kids are grinding their legs to the bone too early. Like they're playing too much basketball. They're playing too much organized basketball. They're not just out playing. So they're grinding the same muscles over and over. And that's the biggest issue. But you're not going to get, the league's not going to shorten the playoffs because the playoffs are way too intriguing to shorten. The Halliburton situation, rather unfortunate, but that's what happens. He strained his calf last game of the season, 2 games before the last game. He played fine the game before, and of course, you continue to push that calf. What happens? Boom, you pop your Achilles. I was actually waiting for it. I was like, hopefully it doesn't happen in this game. Hopefully he makes it throughout the entire series and he can rest it up over the summer, but happen. Same thing with Tatum, but it's more so these guys play so much basketball. I have a buddy of mine that's a coach, and they play a lot of basketball. Like, I mean, a lot of basketball to the point of it's not like play where you get breaks and stuff. It's fully organized. It's hours and hours of organized basketball, which is not good for your body. Going out and just playing basketball like we used to as kids, different. Even heading back to that 5-game series, I remember that as a kid. I loved it. That's when you had a lot of urgency. But if the league decides to shorten anything, they're going to short the regular season, which means the in-season tournament's gone. And that would actually be the smart thing, because then it will add more urgency to the regular season, and you don't need the gimmick of the in-season tournament to get people to buy in. I mean, it's cool and it's fun. I mean, the Bucks won it. They beat the Thunder, and technically that loss didn't even count against the Thunder because the championship game doesn't actually count on the standings. Thunder won the NBA championship afterwards. Don't see it as a big problem for them. I don't think they cared about the in-season tournament like that, because why? They're champions now. You're going to need, to me, you got to have a good set of scheduling to be able to shorten the season and make it financially beneficial for everybody. If they can create more urgency, it can't be like football, which is only once a week, and it's once a week because your bodies need the break. But if they can find a way to create enough urgency for it, I think they'll have the ability to make the playoffs or the regular season way more intriguing, and the playoffs will even be more intriguing from there.
Yeah, now I was on the bandwagon of doing 5-game series in your first 2 rounds and then going to 7 in the conference finals and the NBA finals. I would even actually be in favor of a 3-game series in the first round. A lot of those series, I feel like it is, especially with those 1-8 seeds, you see, just a lot of domination. There's no need for those to go 4 games. I mean, 5 games even feels like a little too much. What's your thoughts on maybe doing a 3-game series in the first round?
That's ridiculous. I've told you that before. That's a ridiculous notion and idea. You're not reducing the playoffs. The lowest you would go is a 5, and you're not even going to do that. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. The NBA's got a lot of TV contracts to live up to, which I think is what makes this hard. But, there's got to be somewhere that they can meet and figure out, how to prevent this stuff from happening. Because like I said, it's definitely on the rise, and we're going to be without quite a few stars next year, at least for the majority of the NBA season, if not all of it. And so I definitely think the NBA's got to figure something out, because you want your stars to play in these games. All right. So Duck brought up an interesting question. He asked, who do you think Oklahoma City is most likely to be able to target in this draft? And again, I think we kind of talked about this just a minute ago, where we were talking about what Oklahoma City can do with a lot of these draft picks, whether they consolidate them down into one pick or whether they try to push them out into other years. And this is an intriguing topic, because I still think Oklahoma City really needs to find some more big man depth. And I know they got Chet. You kind of brought in Brendan Carlson, who I kind of really liked, but from a defensive perspective, didn't really bring a ton for you there. Is there somebody in the draft that kind of moves the needle, in your opinion, for Oklahoma City to be able to go out there and acquire and let them kind of sit for a year in the G League and slowly bring them up into the NBA ranks?
I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen or really dug deep enough into the playoffs to see who makes the most sense for the Thunder. Like, I know that Presti, there's the rumors that Presti wants to move up. The question has been, is he looking at a big man? Is he looking for a draft and stash guy? Get somebody that's international and, maybe bring them back in 2 years. There's so many different possibilities on that, but I don't know what makes the most sense for Oklahoma City. It probably is getting another big. Try to get a big that can stretch to go along with Chet and Hardenstein, but I don't know. I don't. Right now, you're seeing Will Riley from Illinois as one because of his wingspan. Now, I do think what would be interesting if Oklahoma City decided to reach, or even in the second round, go after like Jalen Moore from OU, who recently tore his Achilles in a pre-workout. So he's actually going to have to sit a full year. They just did that with Nikola Topic. I could totally see them doing that again with somebody else, because the team right now is going to be the same team. They can get somebody, throw them, either whoever they're going to get, they're most likely going to throw them in the G. I mean, I'm trying to think of anybody. I don't see anybody in the unless they trade up into the lottery. I don't see anybody that they would take that would immediately play on this team that would supplant anybody that we currently have on the roster. And I think that's where my struggle has come in at.
Yeah, and there is one guy that I would absolutely love to trade up for, and it is a big man because, like I said, I do think Oklahoma City should look at getting another big man, even if it doesn't play next year, but somebody that can develop and kind of be alongside Chet. And there was actually the kid out of Duke. I don't know if you've paid a lot of attention to him. I don't even know how to say his name. I think it's Kaman Maluk, but he's got a 7 foot
From Duke.
7 wingspan, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of one of those prospects where he's exciting, although he doesn't have a lot of basketball experience. That's a guy you can bring him in the G League, get him inside an NBA system, put a little bit of weight on him, and then slowly, gradually get him into the NBA ranks. But other than that, I don't really feel like there's anybody in the first round that I think Oklahoma City can just go get that like moves the needle, unless you're going for like a Cooper Flag, which, let's be honest, Oklahoma City's probably not going to be able to trade up for Cooper Flag. Dallas is going to want to keep that. And so
no one's getting Cooper Flag. I don't even know why I even mentioned his name, to be honest. Like, that's no team stupid enough to trade out of that.
hey, you know what? Maybe
No, there's no maybe. I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you there.
Bucks
I'm gonna
wanted to
stop you.
pull
I'm gonna
out,
stop you.
they'll give you
There
Giannis
is no
for the
maybe.
one pick.
There is no. That's like saying somebody would be dumb enough to trade Victor Wembanyama's pick. No team is that stupid.
Yeah, that would be pretty dumb. But if I'm looking into the
Exactly.
second round, though, I do like your Jalen Moore pick. The Jalen Moore pick makes a lot of sense. He's been in Oklahoma. He would be a hometown favorite. We don't really see a lot of those OU dudes end up at the Thunder, but I feel like
You
they're pretty
don't.
big following there. I do like Janai Broom as like a long term, like a shot in the dark prospect. Obviously, none of these guys I think that we're talking about are going to come in and move the needle for Oklahoma City next year. But these are all guys that I think Oklahoma City could stash away, continue to develop, and then maybe, kind of bring them in, kind of like you did with Dylan Jones and AJ Mitchell, kind of give them opportunities. Like if you want to sit a Chet or, a J Dub throughout the season and, bring them up for 1 or 2 games and then send them back down to the G League. But I do really like Janai Broom as a center, 6'9". I think he's closer, probably 6'10". I think it just depends on who you're actually talking to. But
Right.
a guy that shot 30% from 3 in college. So, maybe if he worked on that 3-point shot a little bit more, he could be a stretch big for you. But that's kind of who I would look at if I was looking at the NBA draft.
What would be fun too is if Oklahoma City could find a way to get up to get a top 10 draft pick and go grab like Jeremiah Fears. He'd be a fun point guard to have to go along with what Shea and them are doing. I know Ace Bailey is the one that a lot of people are talking the most about, especially because he hasn't been working out for anybody. So everybody's trying to figure out what exactly is his plan. Maybe he had a conversation with Preston. He's going to look at trying to come to Oklahoma City. I don't know. It's very interesting to see what's going on with that. But the thing about Preston is he's moving. The man moves in silence. And everybody's afraid to make a move with him because they feel like they're going to get fleeced. And typically you are getting fleeced by Sam Presti if he's making a deal with you because he knows he has an idea of what he wants to do. And in a lot of situations, you making a trade with them isn't bad on your part. You may still get a good grade and it may actually be beneficial to you and your team. But you know that Sam Presti is going to get some benefits from it. He has an idea of what he wants to do. And sometimes his plan doesn't come to fruition for 3 or 4 years. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why he plans and prepares the way he does.
I definitely think it's interesting, and I'm curious to see how NBA owners react to a call from Sam Presti over the next couple of years, because there's kind of been some, I'm not going to say animosity, but people are not a huge fan of what Sam Presti has been able to do because everybody else is in such a bad position with the new CBA rules and these super teams and having to break it up and kind of start over, while Sam Presti's over here just chilling. Like, he has looked into the future, he's stashed up the picks, and he's made sure that this team is able to continue going with its core young guys for probably the next 10 plus years. And I think there's a lot of GMs and people around the league that look at that and they're just like, I don't know if I want to help Oklahoma City out because it's just going to continue to make them better.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is I mean, teams are envious of the way Sam Presti does things. Like I said, when you get a call from Sam Presti, a lot of people are like, I ain't trying to jump out. I don't know. What is he trying to do? What is he trying to steal from us? Like, no, this is beneficial to you. I'm gonna give you this. You give me that. Well, why do you want that thing? So people are asking those questions mainly because you've seen Sam Presti. I mean, he's worked some magic. We just saw it now. He's built a team that is the youngest, one of the second youngest teams in NBA history to win a championship, and they've got a couple more years together. Now teams like they were the best team. They were the number one seed last year, number one seed this year. They're probably going to be in the number one seed next year, barring injuries. They'll be number one again. And shoot, the crazy thing is, it won 68 games, and Chet played 32.
Chet's only
Imagine the entire season with everybody being able to play. Can they get to 70? Can they get to 72? Especially with that tenacious defense. Like, people don't understand, as the season was wearing down at the end, I could totally see why this team didn't look as much as they did in the regular season, because they had been playing this hard all season long. They have. They've been hustling it. I mean, they're thieves. That's what everybody says. They just snatch the ball out your hands and go. Question is, will that continue?
Now, I kind of want to shift gears. This isn't going to be 100% Oklahoma City talk, but I think this is intriguing. Going in the next season, obviously, Oklahoma City is going to be the favorites to probably win the championship.
They are. They already are the favorites right now. Houston, I think, moved up a little bit after the KD trade. But yeah, right now, they're the number one. They're the number one.
So that's kind of where I'm going with this, right? So you had the Houston Rockets make a blockbuster trade, get Kevin Durant to Houston. Obviously, Kevin Durant's towards the end of his career. I think he's, 37 years old.
Yeah, he's 37 in September.
The Kevin Durant of Oklahoma City, but he's still a walking 27 points per game.
He really is.
Looking at the Western Conference next year, is there a team that Oklahoma City should be legitimately scared of as it's currently constructed? Or, like, for me, I feel like the Lakers are going to reconstruct their roster in a way that is going to be built to take down Oklahoma City. And we already didn't play pretty well against the Lakers this season. So I kind of think that they could be a roadblock for Oklahoma going into the next season. Kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Man, we have to see what the construction look like on these rosters going forward. I think the Rockets could be a legitimate threat. Like, we talked about this a little bit. For me, I'm still trying to figure out where the biggest benefit comes in for Houston. Like, I like KD's potential fit there, but it looks great on paper. What does it look like in field? Like, what does it look like in play? What does it look like? What does it look like in actual play? Like, how does KD fit and mesh with all those young players? Because they're going to probably try to run a lot of movement, a lot of transition ball. They're going to try to do a lot of that. I don't know what they look like. I really don't know what they look like together. I have to see what it looks like on paper. Oh, I see it on the court. I see it on paper. I need to see it on the court. It just... KD is a walking bucket, yes. Can KD get you a full season of walking buckets? I don't know. And I wonder, what does he look like in the playoffs? Now, luckily, he hasn't played in the playoffs in like a year or so, so he's had some time to really be rested, but what does that look like?
Yeah, so I like I said, I think I told you, I really like this fit for Oklahoma City or for the Houston Rockets, especially going up against Oklahoma City long term. The Houston Rockets actually shot the three ball pretty well this season, which I think is going to be pretty beneficial to KD, right? It's going to be able to help spread the floor, give KD more open looks. I think it's going to be hard to double team somebody on the Houston Rockets right now, which has kind of been KD's biggest pain point, I feel like, in his career. Like, if he is not on a team like, let's be honest, this current Oklahoma City team or the Warriors team that he was currently or that he was on, where you've got a bunch of shooters and you can't dedicate 2 or 3 guys to one dude, it makes it hard on KD. It makes his life hard. So, I looked at it. I saw Jabari Smith this year shot 45% from 3. Fred VanVleet shot 43%. Aaron Holiday shot over 40. Alfred Sengun was pretty close to 40%. And so I feel like you could slide Kevin Durant in there pretty well. And again, if he can go out there and just get the Houston Rockets 25 points a game, which, like I said, career 27 points per game scorer, I feel like that elevates the Houston Rockets to probably 55 wins this upcoming year and probably makes them a top 4, maybe even a top 3 team in the entire Western Conference, and not just like a fluctuating team. Like, they'll probably solidify themselves in one of those spots. I do look at it, though, and I say I really do kind of like the matchup with LeBron and Luka out there in LA. they just got to be able to get a big man. If they can get a big man, they've got the point guard kind of thing figured out, and they can get just a couple more pieces to add a little bit more depth. The Lakers are going to end up being a problem, and they were already a problem for Oklahoma City this year. And obviously, Oklahoma City fans don't like Luka. Luka likes to have magical games against Oklahoma City anyway, so that's just not a match I want to see.
Yeah, no, I do. I want to see it. Bring it. Let's see if it can last a full season and last a full 7-game series. Like everybody thinks that it's going to just be easily won. Nah, man. LeBron's great. LeBron's also old. Let's keep that in mind. He'll be 40, right? He's old. His body, he injuries stack up on the man, but he's still amazing. The fact that he can still play at this age. Don't get it twisted, man. I want the Lakers. Give me the smoke. I want the Lakers. I want to see if the Clippers ever come back and do something. I want Golden State. Line them up. The team that I am worried the most about 100% is Minnesota. Period. Yeah, we knocked them off. But the thing I got to remember, Ant's 23 years old. In 3 years, when he's 26 and he's Shay's age, good chance his bag has just increased when it comes to his game, and he's out there just cooking people. There is a good chance that
the biggest
could
piece
happen
for Anthony Edwards. He just needs to find a mid-range shot. He needs to be more like Shea. He needs to be able to drive into that mid-range area and create his own shot and be able to hit it consistently. If he's able to do that, there's no doubt in my mind Anthony Edwards is going to be the best player in the league and probably the face of the league at that point, because he's pretty well exceptional in every other area.
So much fun to watch. He's probably one of my favorite players to watch outside of Shea.
Oh,
and it's funny watching him play. When he jumps and flies at the rim, it reminds me of NBA Jam because of the way he goes in the air. It looks like a fake dude flying in the air, and boom, he comes down. That's how he glides everywhere that he goes. And it's going to be fun. If there's any team that concerns me in the West, would be Ant. Now, granted, there is still a chance that Anthony Edwards would no longer be in the Western Conference in the next 2 years. And if this does happen, I don't believe it. I've seen the rumors too many times for me to actually believe it. But if the NBA does expand, bring in Seattle, put a team in Las Vegas, you'd see Memphis, you'd see Minnesota go to the Eastern Conference. I don't see it happening. I won't believe it until I see it. But if it does, Anthony Edwards in the East is going to be dangerous.
Yeah, he might win it every single year. I mean, the East don't have any superstars. I mean, it's I think I was just talking to you about this earlier, but with the Indiana Pacers now, it feels like seemingly out of this thing. I think we talked about it in your Discord a couple days ago. Like, I think the Magic are a dark horse to get to the NBA Finals next year. I think they still have to make a couple more moves. Desmond Main was a phenomenal piece, but I think they're a dark horse. And with Indiana now not being in the way, like, it's New York and Orlando's kind of shot at this thing. Until Donovan Mitchell can get to the conference finals, I don't think they can be your pick at this point.
Yeah. I need Cleveland's going to be they'll be a great regular season story. And I feel bad for them because I feel like that similar sentiment I had about the Thunder, but I always felt like the Thunder were constructed a little bit differently in comparison to the Cavs. But they're that team. I mean, they look great in the regular season. That's about it. Don't make it anywhere. And they've got to do some soul searching there. I would love Oklahoma City had traded for like Evan Mobley. That would have been a fantastic trade. But they weren't going to give that up. They're not going to give up their core. Their core is there. Now the question is, can their core get them into the conference finals? I do expect and predict that if they don't make it next year into the Eastern Conference Finals, they're going to have to blow that team up. Mm-hmm. They're going to have no choice.
It's getting too expensive. All right, Jay. Well, appreciate you coming on, chopping it up. We don't have very much going on. I have a feeling we're not going to be making too many appearances this offseason. Thunder won't be making too many moves. But the good news is the Thunder played almost all the way into July. So the NBA season is just a couple months away already. So, Jay, where can everybody find you at?
Y'all know where to find me, Unfair Sports, here on YouTube. Find my other channel, Unfair Sports Show with Jay. It's where I'm talking more pro stuff. I'm trying to get that back up and running. I kind of miss doing all of that. And you can also find me wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to.
All right. And if you guys are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. The Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions. So go out there, grab your gear, support them, and we'll see you all in day 1 of the 25-26 NBA season.